As you can see, we're under no restraint whatsoever. Knock that off, Quinn.
What do you think of when you think of 1950s science fiction? Most of it was B-grade schlock, but there were a couple of gems to be seen. The best offering, I believe, of that time goes to Forbidden Planet. State-of-the-art special effects for its day, inspiration from William Shakespeare's The Tempest, and a top-notch cast. I'd like to think that Marty McFly, when he spent a week or so in the 50s, took the time to check out this film. Well, he couldn't have, since Forbidden Planet came out in 1958, and he spent a week in 1955.
Bosun.
Aye, aye, sir.
I want a clear field of fire in all directions.
Aye, aye, sir.
Leading the cast was a young Leslie Nielsen in his first major role. His greatest claim to fame would come years later in the form of Lieutenant Frank Drebin of Police Squad in the Naked Gun movies.
I knew it.
Walter Pidgeon and Anne Francis were the inhabitants of Altair 4. He was Dr. Morbius, a reclusive scientist, and she was his daughter. Earl Holliman was the comic relief as Cookie, the ship's chef. He would gain fame as Bill Crowley on Policewoman. Also, Richard Anderson was in the cast. He gained fame as Oscar Goldman on The $6 Million Man. The original title of the film was Fatal Planet and took place in 1976 on the planet Mercury. This was later changed to Altair 4 in the 23rd century. The plot is basic sci-fi fare. The United Planet starship C-57D arrives at the distant planet Altair 4 to determine the fate of the ship Bellerophon, sent there 20 years before.
Forbidden Planet is an amazing film. Some of the best science fiction touches on this idea of the great mysteries, the great enigmas, the things that we struggle to understand about ourselves, about our mortality, about our place in the universe.
Dr. Edward Morbius, one of the original expedition scientists, warns the ship not to land for safety reasons, but Commander John J. Adams ignores his warning.
Well, Dr. Morbius, my orders are to survey the situation on Altair 4.
Commander, if you set down on this planet, I warn you that I cannot be answerable for the safety of your ship or your crew.
Adams and Lieutenant Jerry Farman and Doc Ostro are met by Robbie the Robot, who transports them to Morbius' residence.
You are a robot, aren't you?
That is correct, sir. For your convenience, I am monitored to respond to the name Robbie.
Morbius describes how all other members of their expedition had been killed one by an unseen planetary force, and how their ship was vaporized as the last survivors tried to lift off. Only Morbius, his wife, who later died of natural causes, and their daughter, Altera, were somehow immune. Morbius offers to help the starship return home, but Adams says he must receive further instructions from Earth. Forbidden Planet pioneered several aspects of science fiction cinema. It was the first science fiction film to depict humans traveling in a man-made, faster-than-light starship. It was also the first to be set entirely on a planet orbiting another star, far away from Earth and the solar system. The Robbie the Robot character is one of the first robots that was more than just a mechanical tin can on legs. Robbie displays a distinct personality and is an integral supporting character in the film. Outside science fiction, the film was groundbreaking as the first of any genre to use an entirely electronic score, courtesy of Beebe and Louise Barron. Robbie the Robot in the poster appears to be carrying an unconscious Anne Francis. Typical of that era, this shows a kind of monster movie. Robbie is actually benevolent and is revealed in the film to be unable to harm a human being. Robbie was also the breakout star and would appear in over 25 film and television shows. At a cost of roughly $125,000, Robbie the Robot was very expensive for a film's prop at that time. It represents almost 7% of the film's $1.9 million budget and equates to at least $1 million in today's dollars. Both the electronically controlled passenger vehicle driven by Robbie and the truck tractor crane offloaded from the starship were also constructed especially for this film. Robbie later starred in the science fiction film The Invisible Boy.
Fred Wilcox, who was the director, discussed the film with everybody working on it. And they said, this is a serious film, and treat it like that.
The film influenced both Rod Serling and Gene Roddenberry, who got the idea of the away team consisting of the captain, science officer, and medical officer. The Star Trek episode Requiem for Methuselah is a reimagining of Forbidden Planet.
If you do not leave voluntarily, I have the power to force you to leave or kill you where you stand.
Rod Serling would use props from this film in many Twilight Zone episodes. In addition to animating the monster that invades the camp, Walt Disney Studios artist Joshua Meador provided approximately 29 other animation effects depicting laser beams and other forms of visual energies. The green sky background is an homage to the 1933 novel When Worlds Collide by Philip Wiley and Edwin Baumer. In it, the sky on the primary alien planet was green. A species of green algae there used sunlight to separate water into hydrogen and oxygen and stored the hydrogen in sacs, allowing it to float in the air. Bellerophon is a hero from Greek mythology. His greatest feat was the destruction of the Chimera, a monster who breathed fire. Writers and special effects artists Irving Bloch and Alan Adler originally conceived of this film as a B picture and brought it to Allied Artists, formerly Monogram Pictures, a well-known B studio. They turned it down. They then decided to try their luck at MGM, then still Hollywood's most prestigious studio, which had not produced a science fiction film since The Mysterious Island in 1929. To their surprise, studio chief Dor Sherry greenlit the project immediately, catapulting the film to the status of a major production. The budget ballooned to $1.9 million, and its box office returns barely managed to break even amid a dismal year for the studio. The relative failure of the film was cited as a reason for Sherry's ousting soon after. When the crew members are firing at the monster and it roars, menacingly moving its head from side to side before it ultimately kills two of the crew members, the actions of the monster are, in an inside joke, actually mimicking those of Leo the Lion, the MGM mascot who appears at the beginning of this and every other MGM film. In addition, on the rough cuts, the monster's voice was a lion's roar before it was redubbed in final editing. Many attempts were made to remake or reimagine this film. One of the most notable in the early 90s, a remake was announced several times, with Irving Kershner of Star Wars Episode V: The Empire Strikes Back directing the film. Anthony Hopkins was imagined as Dr. Morbius, but the financing kept falling through.
We all, as actors, made it a point from the very beginning to take the story seriously and to play it for real.
According to Anne Francis, Walter Pidgeon loved to disrupt takes by reciting dirty limericks in the middle of his dialogue. In Stephen King's The Tommyknockers, Altair 4 is referenced as the home planet of the alien presence. Doctor Who's episode Planet of Evil was inspired by Forbidden Planet.
Will provide us with perpetual energy. Now listen to me, please. You're tampering with hideously dangerous forces. Dangerous.
The British musical Return to the Forbidden Planet was inspired by and loosely based on the MGM film and won the Olivier Award for Best Musical of 1989. A scene from the science fiction TV series Babylon 5, set on the Epsilon 3 Great Machine Bridge, strongly resembles the Krell's Great Machine. While this was not the direct intent of the show's producer, the special effects crew, tasked with creating the imagery, stated that the Krell's machine was a definite influence on their Epsilon 3 designs. And that was an oh-so-brief look at the production of Forbidden Planet. I could go on and on for probably another hour of all the things that were inspired by that film. This was one of the first great science fiction movies that taught filmmakers that science fiction doesn't need to be B-grade schlock. What did you think? Were you a fan of Forbidden Planet? Were you aware of all the influences of this fantastic film? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're at it, I'd be honored if you subscribe to my channel, ring the bell to stay informed, and check out my Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter franchise. You can find that in the comments section too. And until next time, this is Kevin Given, saying live long and prosper. May the force be with you, and keep reaching for the stars.